Here's what happened. It's been 10 years since I started my first business as a DJ. And what I've learned a few things. But one of them is that there is a lot of fucking uncertainty as you're building the business. And then the uncertainty, it never goes away. I think back looking at the 10 years to where I am today, the uncertainty is always there. It's how you handle that uncertainty. And it comes back to the you're being able to have more success is connected to how much of that uncertainty that you can handle. And so what I want to get into with you is 5 habits that I use to handle that uncertainty. And then I have some extra servings I'm going to share with you too with this. So this is Make Burn Out Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you could be doing a bunch of different stuff, a lot of distractions that are out there. But by you being here, let's get present first. And then it says something to want to focus on how to handle this uncertainty for whatever that's coming up for you, for whatever reasons in building the business. So I say, you have a lot of shit that you've dealt with, a lot of challenges before this moment, probably got a lot of those challenges afterwards. So let's take a deep breath in through the nose and then exhale through the mouth and get settled into the space. Here we go. Deep inhale. You can even stretch it out if you want. Oh yeah. And out. All right. There we go. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. And if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. I have a few commitments that I want to share with you. First one is the commitment to continue to grow this show. By you subscribing and following this show, it honors that commitment if you haven't done that already. And to continue to grow this movement around this one mission to make burnout extinct, it fires me up for now being over 8 months into this thing. I'm so grateful for what the show has done for me and then the value I've been able to provide for you, and realizing that without your support, it would not be possible for where this is at for the show. And then it fires me up for where this is going and the impact that this mission can have on so many people of Make Burnout Extinct, which again is a reminder for you is absolutely possible for you in your life as you're building this business. And then the other commitment I have for you is to be honest with you, to set the expectations for what to prepare for with making burnout extinct. There can be a lot of pretending, a lot of lies out there for messaging of what to expect in building businesses. And I want to tell you that with making burnout extinct, it's not just these results that can get shared out there and glorified of like, oh, this is so amazing. This is what can happen, which the ones I have for you in the simplest form is feeling more energized in your day. That'd be awesome, right? The other one is feeling this aliveness of life rather than going through your motions in your day to day and like just feeling like it's going through one day after the next. Instead of that, it is feeling this aliveness and excitement for life. And then the other one is feeling that momentum and feeling that excitement of the momentum you have towards a vision you have with the business and with your life as well. It's that as well as the hard work behind the scenes, putting in the reps when people aren't watching, showing up for yourself and like giving yourself that gift of trusting yourself in this process. It's so important. It's such a key lesson that I had to realize the hard way is the importance of trusting your body, that your body is on your team. And then when you get off track, honoring all the different emotions that come up, all the shit, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, is this really worth it? Honoring all of that and then continuing to move forward and put the reps in. And I will tell you, the confidence that can come from that is incredible. It is such a wild feeling to realize the days that you weren't moving through life with that level of confidence to when you do move through life with this expanded level of confidence. It's mind-blowing in that way. And it's a gift that I really get excited to be able to give to you as you go on your own journey, but it takes you showing up and putting in the reps and taking accountability for yourself. But I want to remind you is that making burnout extinct, though, is possible for you. And so it's all of that. And to the best of my ability, I want to share with you what to prepare for, what to expect, and to be honest with you, because leading up to my burnout in 2018, after the social media conference where 500 people came together, I lied a bunch. And it's one of my reasons for hitting burnout. And this pressure and this tension that builds of pretending, of not sharing really what's going on. And I'm sure whenever you've done that and lied in the past, you know what that pressure and that tension feeling is like. So for me, honesty is a key value of mine. But again, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But to the best of my ability, I want to share it with you. And then when I make the mistakes, I'm going to do my best to own up to those mistakes and share that with you here. So thank you for being a part of this movement, for being here today to get into it. And let's dive in. So today, what I want to talk about are the 5 habits that I use to handle uncertainty. These are 5 that you may not realize could be helpful for handling the uncertainty. They're a little bit out there for some of them. That might be a little weird. Some you might be like are silly and could be even stupid. You might think about it, but my question would always be: have you tried it yet for yourself? Because give it a try and see if it helps you. That's really important. And then I want to kick it off too with some generic habits. In addition, so you got some bonuses that I'm going to give you for these habits that you may have heard of before. But my question is, have you taken some time to refocus on them to help you out so that you are being able to handle the uncertainty and move through it better? But it comes back to where to start is, what do you want? So with this uncertainty, what's coming up for you right now? It could be the fear of how are you going to pay your bills next month or 6 months from now with building a business. Or it could be, the uncertainty of getting medical insurance, like having to do that as an entrepreneur. When I first did that, it was so wild. I didn't realize like, oh, you go and this is how you do it. Like, I just thought it just happens. But having to go through that process was both scary and I think about that. Yeah, it's a lot of scary feelings that came up. There's not so much excitement. It's more like a hassle and a pain in a lot of ways. Hopefully that stuff changes. But that could be one for you. Another one is taxes. I mean, that's another one where I don't really have any positive feelings for taxes that come up. I mean, maybe the first time of like, oh, I did my taxes. Like, that was cool. But besides that, it's just like there can be a lot of uncertainty too there at the beginning. Or it could be as simple as this, that I know my life partner and I, we talk about this, Adriana and we talk about it for going to the grocery store and just being able to buy what we want and not have to worry about the budget or, think about the price of eggs. Like, you're able to just like go in there, get what you want and not have to worry about each week. Like, how are you going to budget this out? How are you going to make it work? What foods can you get? That feeling can be exhausting. And so for you, what is it that you want to change? And it's remembering, what is it for you, not what you think other people are going to tell you should want. Because I know I lived my life in so many ways like that, of all the shoulds. It's like the shoulds that just get showered on you. That then it feels like shit. It's just, you're just like, ugh, like, all right, it's exhausting trying to pretend. So really take that time for what is it that you want at the core of it. And the best way I think about that is like my gut. I go back to this gut sensation, and actually it's a test that you can try out for yourself, which is just saying your name. So for my name, Robert David, you can call me RD. And it's like, where do I hear that in my body? You can come back to that. So if I say Robert David, okay, I hear that kind of like, I feel it in my chest, my stomach. I know it may sound weird, but like, this is really important to figure out how you connect to your gut. Because I had a really hard time doing that. I mean, I've talked about it before with my life, is I felt like I had to follow the shoulds of everyone else and had to be what people wanted me to be in how I showed up. And then I lost who I was at the core. And that idea of someone saying, oh, just be yourself. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, right? It's like, what the fuck does that mean? And there's a lot of letting go in that. It's not adding things on. So this is really important. I want to set that foundation. I know I'm putting a lot of time towards this, but it's important. And it's important to remind yourself that and give your permission to figure out what do you want. And if you can't figure that out right now and you're a little all over the place as you're building the business and you're really trying to achieve big things, but you're kind of like, why am I achieving these things? I get that too. So I understand wherever you're at in this journey. So now what I want to do is get into the habits. I'm going to start big generic ones. Think about that for the top of the funnel. We're going to work our way down to then other habits that you might not be so familiar with. The first one is eating healthy foods that are energizing for me. I just had this epic sugar rush that came up with golden nugget mandarins. So it wasn't like the candy. Being able to substitute this for candy is so good because there's not like that intense crash that can happen. But being able to eat mostly whole foods and then minimally processed foods has had a big impact on my life. Been a game changer is how I think about it. And so that is one to think about for you, is with the uncertainty, you want to feel energized as you go and handle the different unexpected challenges that are going to come your way. That's exhausting in itself. Building the business is exhausting in itself. You don't want to try to make it harder than it has to be. I think about that. It's like, where can I make this easier for myself? And one of them is eating healthy foods. It might be a pain in that moment. You might be like, I really want this thing or that thing. Everyone's different in how you want to approach it. But being able to make sure that you also focus on the healthy foods and focusing on foods that are energizing for you can have a really positive impact in how you're showing up in the business and then showing up for your life, and overall being able to increase your quality of life too. The other one I have is staying hydrated. So this one as well increases my quality of life. I think about that morning today. I woke up and I was just like, ugh, like Adriana, she was leaving, she was going for a trip. And I had that brain fog that comes up. You think about it, it's like cobwebs is like the other one that really resonates of what it looks like, what it feels like for my mind. And I think about that feeling and I really take the moment to really feel what that is like. And then I think back to this journey as a business owner over those years. I felt for a lot of times I was living life in that sluggish feeling, that exhausting feeling. And so what that reminds me of is sometimes you don't realize either how bad you have it for how you feel exhausting, like how exhausted you feel, or how much potential is there that you're not tapping into for what it could feel like to move and show up in the business. Because you are going to have hard days, like those absolutely come up. And so being able to feel mentally sharp in those moments and feel focused to be able to tackle those challenges is really helpful. And staying hydrated, that has been a great way for me to focus on this and get I have a water bottle right here that I drink out of as my reminder. And so it's just having to come back to it. And again, you're going to get off track. It happens, but it's a reminder right now to figure out, hey, have I not been keeping up with my hydration? Then the other one is getting outside. I mean, this one, I saw the stat where on average, an American spends 90% of their time indoors. And then when I actually looked at, oh man, I remember when I did this, like, I remember the feeling of it. I documented my time and I realized I was spending over 90% of my time indoors. And I was like, no wonder I'm feeling like shit and feeling depressed and feeling like I'm in a box and like, what the hell is going to happen here with all this uncertainty that's coming into the business? Because I wasn't getting outside. I wasn't opening up my perspective or coming at it from a new perspective. And so literally changing your environment can make a big difference in how you show up for the challenges you're dealing with and this uncertainty that you can get hit with in life. And there's a lot of uncertainty that's out there. I think about that of, if it's AI that's coming up, if it's politics, if it's what's going on I think about that with different countries. Like, there is a lot of uncertainty even in the business, in building the business in your day to day. Like, okay, is this client going to like what I have to offer? Or how am I going to bring in potential new clients? Is the marketing hitting? Am I going to be able to get all these work tasks done that I want to get done in the day? Like, there's so much of this uncertainty that can compound over time and cause you to take a one-way ticket to hitting burnout. And that comes back to what I think about this battle that you're in every day, which is with the burnout piece that you're having to fight through every day. And so when you can get a change of perspective with all of that uncertainty, it really helps you to take a moment to like get present, give yourself some time to think, rather than rushing to the next thing and the next decision, moving quickly. It's taking the time to really think, is this the path that you want to take? Or what is a better strategy here for this challenge? Because there can be a lot of rushing. And that's where you get into this next one, which is your breathing. So there can be a lot of moments where you're feeling rushed with your breathing, where you're like, oh man, whew. This is where the anxiety can increase in the body, the stress in the body can increase, that overwhelm. And it is a reminder for you, I've talked about this before, where the body is like a balloon. So it can fill up with a certain amount of the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety that you can feel in all this uncertainty that's coming your way. But if you have no way to release the stress, the overwhelm, the anxiety out of the body and close out what I call these stress loops, then like a balloon, if you can't let out the air, the balloon's going to pop. And for the body, that's the body hitting burnout. And so the other 5 habits I'm going to get into here soon, plus a bonus one, will help you to figure out ways to release that stress, that overwhelm, and that anxiety out of the body, help close out those stress loops to then take the action. But going back to the breathing, this is a great way to think about it, or to feel it, let's put it that way, is like, where are you right now breathing as you're listening or watching this? It's like, do you feel like you're breathing up here in your chest, like a shallow breathing, like, or is it more deeper down in the stomach? Because for me, most of the years, and I think about that as building a business, because it can feel like there's a lot of stress going on and you want to achieve things, and you might be moving from one thing to the next super fast and bouncing all over the place, is that there was a lot for me of breathing up here in my chest, like, and so that would cause me to get tense and cause me to get my body into a stress response where I'm like, am I like, what am I going to do with all these potential these perceived threats that are coming at me, all these challenges? And that's where I can get into this life or death situation. And it can feel very exhausting being constantly in that, where then it's no wonder that you feel super drained or that you feel like you're headed towards a one-way ticket to hitting burnout. But it's catching yourself and recognizing what's going on in your body. And again, I've talked about it before with making burnout extinct, because I want to focus in on this right before getting into these next habits. Making burnout extinct, the simplest way I can describe it is having more energizing habits than draining habits in your life. That's it right there. Simplest way to put it. And so these other habits I want to share with you, the ones I've already shared, are energizing habits. They could be for you. And the ones I'm going to share with you right now are also energizing habits. But it's also remembering, go back to this quote from a mentor of mine, John Butcher, which is, there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. So if one thing works for someone else and then it's shit for you, it's recognizing, oh, this is just not my right way. Let me try something else. Right? Like, you don't have to like move through the shit and be like, oh, I gotta do it because everyone else is doing it and it's working. It's coming back to connecting to your body and recognizing those signals of what is working, what isn't, making those adjustments along the way. But the key for why I say making burnout extinct is possible for that mission is because your body's giving you signals of when you are headed towards hitting burnout. It's whether or not you understand those signals, listen to those signals, and then make those changes to the behavior and to the habits that you're doing in your day. And now to get into it for these habits, these could help you out. Take you a moment to listen. So for the first one I want to go into is stretching. And I missed one thing I want to share with you. Even before this, the purpose of these habits, as well as the other ones I just shared, the purpose is to get you unstuck. And to take that action. It's giving you helping you to tap into your courage that's there to make a decision, to take the action. Because with uncertainty, to handle the uncertainty, that means you don't have clarity as to the path that you're headed towards. And I've talked about it before, where the body, with anything new, it can create uncertainty for the body. And so then the body can get into a stress response where then it can cause you to try to pull you back to your old ways and your old habits that could be draining and leading you towards hitting burnout. And that's where you can get natural resistance that can come up from the body with anything new. And that's where you then feel stuck. And that goes back to just explaining that for the body so you understand that. So again, it goes back to the goal here is to get you unstuck. These are not things that you just focus solely on getting a check mark on, but they serve a purpose to give you the space to tap into your courage, to make the decision and take the action, and then realize it's possible for you to handle the uncertainty. So let's get into it. First one is stretching. This one, I didn't realize how tense I was, man. Fuck. Like, I did not realize just how tense I was moving through building the business. It's like the shoulders. I remember when I was working up at a camp up in Maine, in the middle of the night, we all would go up to this area and hang out. And I remembered that like people would like see me and they know it would be me without me saying anything, because they were like, dude, your shoulders were like up to your ears. Like, they were so high, your shoulders. And they're like, we know how you walk. And it was so interesting to hear that, because I was so young then. It was before I was building any businesses. But just looking back, I didn't realize just how tense I really was through life. That's where I get it. If you're feeling a lot of that anxious, I think about that with anxiety and feeling that, if that's social anxiety or anxiety of the unknown with the future or the what ifs or these tornado, think about it. I call them tornado thoughts, all these different tornado thoughts of what ifs and the worry that can build. I get it. I've had to really work on my worrying a lot. And so with stretching, what that did for me was it opened me up. I'm thinking, open me up like a beautiful butterfly. I know it's cheesy. I know. That's me. So with stretching, it allowed, I was able to connect to my body more. And so connect to the different muscle groups. And then it felt, I was able to really connect to that expansiveness, knowing the difference between tight and then muscles that get stretched out. Noticing that difference in sensation helped me to then figure out how I'm feeling in my day, which was really cool. And how I do it for stretching is I do like 10 minutes. I go to YouTube, so that, plenty of free videos for stretching that you can try out. The person I go to is Jeff Cavalier from Athlean X. That YouTube channel is called Athlean X. What him and Jesse do, I really like because they tie in both like with Jeff, his background is also in physical therapy, so he brings that into it as well as the strength training, the performance based work, and I really like that combination. It feels for me more of a holistic approach to my fitness, which is super cool. And so with that openness, it's fun to notice that difference. And I'll just do a few different stretches that I pick and choose from different videos that he's put out there, and it comes out to be about like 10 minutes or so, and I'll do that every day, and it helps me out. It really helps me out which goes into this next habit, which is my posture, and that goes into then corrective exercises. So for these two habits, they're fitness based, and they also are helping me to connect back to my different muscles in my body, muscle groups, which then allow me to notice whenever I feel this pressure or this tension in the body, being able to connect to that pressure and that tension and notice what, by listening to it. And I know it could sound weird, but by listening to that pressure and that tension and being aware of it and not pushing it, not ignoring it, not pushing it away or suppressing it, what happens is there's usually a message in an action I could take to get rid of that tension and that pressure. And usually it's a decision I'm putting off, or there's uncertainty for the path to move forward. And that's what that signal is doing to my body. It's like, oh, hey, listen up to this emotion, feel this real quick for an emotion, and then you get to release it out, move it out. Because emotions do get stuck in the body. That happens. And so it can come in the form of pressure and this tension to listen to that. And that goes back to the lying. For me, I was realizing I was lying and I was feeling a lot of shame around that, but I wasn't able to feel the shame until I hit my burnout. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was ignoring it and suppressing it. So with corrective exercises, that's the other one I want to get into for fitness. It is, because that's a long way to put it, but it's, connecting back to the body. So corrective exercises, what I've focused on has been posture. And man, it's been so cool. I used to like have my shoulders rolled forward, hunched over, and you might even be feeling that right now. Actually, as I was saying that, I was like, ooh, I gotta get in better posture here. And like, yep, there we go. And so with posture, what it can do is not only the connection with the muscles, but it also helps you with the connection of the sensations. By focusing on these corrective exercises and these muscle groups that have gotten ignored, like it's so interesting. I've learned so many different types of muscles out there. Like one I think about for the back, well, understanding the thoracic spine. Like I just didn't realize how your spine was broken up into different sections and what they were. And so understanding those different muscle groups that support, I think about that for my, oh man, now I'm being put on the spot here for one of them. But yeah, so like muscles like the rhomboids, understanding those, or my serratus anterior, like it's so cool to understand more about my body in that way. I definitely nerd out. But with the posture, being able to change that and notice the difference, it gives me confidence to show up and handle then the challenges that are coming my way. I noticed such a difference. It's like, that feeling of being Superman, just being able to be like, yep, I got this, like, let's go. And so that comes up for me. And then being able to then connect to the rest of my body, what happens is instead of just staying constantly in my mind, those anxious thoughts get to move down into the rest of the body, and they don't become so loud when I'm able to connect to the rest of my body rather than just stay in my mind. So those are two of the habits I want to get into. The next one I want to talk about is looking back on the past. So what can happen is you can try to look back on the past and there can be a lot of regret that could come up, potentially, is a feeling, oh man, I could have done that differently, or a lot of shame or guilt that comes up especially in building the business, a lot of the mistakes that you make. And it's a reminder for you that there's always a lesson in the mistakes. And so get that lesson and then let go of the mistakes. It's no point in holding on to that. It drains you more, makes you feel more exhausted, and just helps you to take that one-way ticket to hitting burnout. It doesn't serve a purpose after you get the lesson. But when I look at the past, it happens to compare, it happens where you get into the past sometimes. And so it's being able to look at your baseline. That's really helpful. Understanding your baseline, knowing where you're at to where you were, and noticing that progress. And that's really helpful. And then being able to channel that into then the future thinking of handling the uncertainty that's going to come your way. Because what can happen is with that future, if you know how far you've come, then in the present moment, you're not putting so much pressure on yourself to show up. And then in the future, you're not putting so much pressure on it because you know where you've come from. And I think that's really important to tap back into that during these moments of high uncertainty that come up, because then you get to continue to connect back to that trust that you've built for yourself, or built with yourself and your body. And it reminds you that your body's on your team and they can handle this and you can move forward for that unexpected challenge. And so that's how I look at it from the past. And you think about that. It's gratitude could be another way to tie into it for the past, is taking the moment to be grateful for what's in your life. And I think about that for the baseline and be able to look how far you've come along in this journey to where you are today. So then the next one I have for you is celebrating the rep. I have talked about this habit so many different times, but it's after doing something that you want to have happen. And so for me, it's that whenever I have something that I really want to have happen in my life, I celebrate it, or something that's energizing for me. I want to celebrate it because it tells the body that you want more of this. And with the physical celebration, it's literally just like a head nod, simple as that. That could be it for you. It could be raising your arm up like that. Or how I do it is like tap with my shoulders. I go, yeah, like I scored a touchdown or a goal. And there's something weird with celebrating for the pressure. Like I think about that of celebrating. If it's, you think about that in sports, celebrating, it's like, oh, this is totally normal. It's all great. But then when it comes to building the business, there's just like pressure to not celebrate. There's pressure to not be satisfied. This pressure of like, I got to keep going and feel miserable and like keep chasing and chasing and chasing. And I believe mastery comes with handling both. Feeling satisfied in the day that you put it all out there. And then in this other hand here of wanting to explore your potential and what you're capable of and seeing what else is possible. This explorer in you. It's fucking both. That's how I look at it. And so this whole like not being able to celebrate the small wins, I'm like, why the fuck not? Like, that's going to help you to feel more momentum going into then the unknown and that uncertainty, being able to tap into more courage that's within you to then expand that and then get after it for the uncertainty. And then it just feels great giving yourself that small win, because small wins lead to big wins. It's by recognizing these small wins and the momentum that comes with that keeps you going and keeps you in the game longer. For me, I really hope that can change as well in how we look at it for celebrating the rep, and not to feel so weird about it or like, ugh. And really the weirdness could just come from you haven't experienced it before of celebrating the rep, right? It comes back to something new can create uncertainty and natural resistance from the body. Might feel weird, awkward, kind of strange. But I'll tell you, thinking back to when I was playing sports in high school, I remember like in soccer or ice hockey or like lacrosse, not so much. Wasn't the biggest fan of lacrosse when I was playing, but I think about that for soccer, like scoring a goal, like just how fired up you are, like how fired up. It's just like, fuck yeah. And letting people know. And like, that's where it's accepted, but somehow in this way, it's not accepted, or you look weird for celebrating. And I want to tell you, give yourself that permission to fucking do it, because it makes a big difference for then that momentum moving forward. The other one I have for you is exhaling with sound. So this one could be a little bit edgy for you, a little weird to do it. And you might find it silly or kind of stupid, like, why am I doing this one? But with exhaling with a sound and this groan, it helps to get this stress out of the body. I've noticed that for me with voice, it's a really powerful way to like release the shit out and this pressure that can build in the body. And sometimes, it's like the whole idea of like, I just want to scream, like I just want to release this thing. And you might think it's like weird or wrong to do that because you've been told that by some people or someone, or heard that somewhere. But really, it's a great way to release energy out of the body and close out these stress loops. And so how it sounds is I'll do like, I won't do it too loud for you, especially if you're listening to this with headphones, but it's like a deep inhale and then just release with a, sometimes I feel like it's like a dying animal. Like I'm like, oh man, are people like thinking there's a dying animal around here? But so I'll tell you, I have some moments of like having to look over my shoulder sometimes. Like, so I feel you on this. If you're like, I feel like I'm gonna get judged here, it's gonna be weird. I get it. But what this does is it becomes a really fast way to get that energy out and close out that stress loop. So then you're not feeling so drained and exhausted. And then you can be able to tap into that courage, figure out the decision that you've been putting off, make the decision, take the action. And it comes back with this sound. So we'll do it together here. So you can do it with me to get started. So deep inhale through the nose and then release with whatever sound comes up for you, right? Whatever you're feeling right now. So deep inhale and then release. There you go. Woo! All right, we did it. Hell yeah. Now it's the moment to celebrate the rep, right? Tap. Let's go. All right. Here's a bonus one for you to end it. Small movement sessions between work tasks. Movement is so important. Movement literally produces energy in the body. It was wild to learn that. I learned that from reading the book Good Energy by Dr. Casey Means and Callie Means. It was so cool to really get this. Like, I felt energized. I kind of understood it, but to just see how it was broken down with your mitochondria and producing ATP, it was fascinating for me. But to get it to help you out with this, to tie it on back with the small movement sessions between work tasks, it can do a few things. One, literally produce energy, so then you're feeling energized. Then if you get outside, change your perspective, that can help for having a new perspective on the challenges you're dealing with. But ultimately what this does is it breaks it up. If you are feeling stuck and you are feeling intense, that uncertainty building in the body and this intensity of like, what the hell do I do? Your mind might even start pinballing and you're distracting yourself. Breaking it up and interrupting that pattern then can help your mind reset and then come at this in a new way of tapping into that courage, making the decision you've been putting off and taking the action. And that's where then you get back into that momentum in a way that is energizing for you and not feeling super exhausted. So for these 5 plus the bonus, what I want to remind you is that where you start isn't going to be where you end up with these habits. So at the beginning, going back to the 3 phases of the habit formation process, it may be awkward, going through that awkward phase at the beginning. You then may get hit with resistance, going back to the angry phase. Natural resistance can come up with anything new, but then you get to move into the autopilot phase where there's less friction there. It's easier to show up and put those reps in for yourself. And you may have to go through that cycle a few times for the 3 phases of habit formation. But it's giving yourself grace when you get off track and reminding yourself that wherever you're at, it's temporary. You can move through this and get unstuck. That's really important. So I'll recap it for you. So we got the big ones: eating healthy foods that are energizing for me. That's my go-to. Staying hydrated, getting outside, breathing deeply, focusing on those breaths. Then the 5 habits that I use to handle uncertainty that you may not have been familiar with: stretching, corrective exercises, past looking at my baseline for how I've grown and where I am today. That's where gratitude can be helpful here. Just taking a moment to write out what you're grateful for. And then celebrating the rep after doing something I want to have happen or that's energizing for me. They're both the same thing. I mean, that's how I look at it. And then exhale with sound, being able to groan it out is another one. And then the bonus is a small movement session between work tasks. And then remembering, again, where you start isn't going to be where you end up. And what I want to tell you is that if you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You have the capabilities as a human being to be able to handle this uncertainty. These are some habits that you can try out and figure out which one's going to be right for you to move forward with, and give yourself the next 14 days to try one of these habits, at least one of these habits. You could try a few of them, but don't overwhelm yourself with too much, especially with what else you got going on in the business and all that other stuff that's coming up for you. But give yourself the next 14 days to work through it, to put those reps in, realize you may get off track. Give yourself like 2 days to get off track so that you can then get back on track and continue with this momentum. And as a reminder for you, you absolutely can make burnout extinct. It is possible for you. And you got this.